Hello, everybody. This is Sophia Mona Lisa. Welcome back to this episode 4 of Spotlight on Influencers. And today's guest is Winifred Adams. And I'm so excited to have Winifred here. She is an amazing woman. She is a radio show host on Voice America. She is a medical intuitive and a master healer. She's a professional wellness speaker, a best-selling author, a singer and songwriter. I mean, she just does it all, and she does it at the highest possible level that you can achieve anything. So welcome to the show, Winifred.
Wow, that's quite an introduction. Thank you for having me, Sophia. Sophia Mona Lisa, we met at the Truth Tour, and I am so grateful to have met you there. What a beautiful way to meet, and what a great space to meet in. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yes. It was one of those divine appointments, I say. And so yes, it's just a gift to be able to share this space with you and to get to know you in this way. So let me move on to my next slide and go over what it is that we're going to be talking about today. There we go. So this year, this season is focused on soul missions, and at the umbrella level, we look at the soul tribe that my guests are born into and what that overriding soul tribe mission is. And so Winifred is a part of the Virgo soul tribe, and you'll see that on her chart when we get to that slide. And to remind you that the Virgo soul tribe is dedicated to their sacred work, and their sacred work is in service to the sacred feminine. So for everybody, that may show up differently. It may be in service to the inner feminine that we all carry. It may be in service to the earth as Gaia, the feminine, to the grandmothers, to the goddesses. For me, it's the Sophia consciousness. So Winifred, does this overriding soul tribe resonate with you? And how do you relate to the sacred feminine?
It absolutely does. This couldn't be more descriptive, really. And what you just said is actually very true. First of all, I'll say this. I've been on a path of light and sound for over 20 years in my life, and it's been at a very, very interesting kind of graduate level. So to complete my time here on Earth and complete it properly has been my goal all through this lifetime. But to be in service as I do that. And
Right.
that's something I've done along the way. Now, being a part of a very advanced meditational circle, we were at one point given the gift and the honor to be the sacred keepers of the 4 different elements of the Hopi. So mine was the Earth tribe, and I am part of the Earth tribe that helps to bring that energy grounded and help it balance. And that's continual work.
Right.
So that's part of it. And of course, here we are on the Truth Tour together, and that's just bringing this out further and making life brighter. You know, that whole mission in radio has been part of it, but really my healing work and trying to have souls, because I know how tough it is. I know how hard it is to basically overcome the karmas and the ego in this lifetime, but we're at a beautiful place. And really my whole life has been set up for this space and time. So
Yes.
yes, thank you.
And all of that affirms absolutely what I've already seen in your chart. So that's very exciting. And I love what you shared about the Hopi element of Earth that you are working with, because Virgo as an astrological sign is an Earth element sign. And so your soul tribe is an Earth element tribe. So I love that.
Yes, that's a very special honor. And that that is part of what I do. So quite a bit of my focus, even though I do quantum healing meditations and we're outside in the ether, if you will, the truth is we're very much in the spirit world, anchored. And I would say that perfectly. It's anchored in, and we focus quite a bit on earth healing. So raising the vibrational frequency, assisting where there's gaps in the frequencies, moving through the ley lines, all that kind of thing. So we're working with the earth plane, we're working with the grid, we're working with the whales and all the light keepers, that kind of thing.
That's fantastic. Oh, how exciting. How exciting. So we're going to look specifically at Winifred's chart to see what her personal soul mission as a part of that Virgo soul tribe is. And as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I use the planet Pluto. Pluto represents the soul. It also has other meanings and influences, but in terms of the soul, we use Pluto. And to determine what her soul mission is, we look at the house that it's in, the sign that it's in, any other luminary aspects to that placement. And then we look at how her soul is actually intending for her to achieve that soul mission. And so we use the North Node to do that because it's our evolutionary GPS system. It's our individual evolutionary GPS, and for humanity as a collective, it's our evolutionary GPS. So we'll look at that. And again, the placement, the house, the sign, and the luminary aspects come into play. And once we look at that piece, we're going to look at what's happening this year on her evolutionary path. And so that'll be really fun to look at as well. So any questions about what we're going to be diving into?
No, but I do want to say one thing that matches this so perfectly. When I saw what you were doing and what you've been gifted with, I had to laugh because for the last 5 years, I've been working with these meditational groups using a zestiolite specifically and bringing through and anchoring in the energy that was blessed into the zestiolite, which is Sophia. And so I'm not necessarily focused on Sophia like you are. I'm focused more on the crystalline grid and the crystals, but that was infused into that azestulite that we use. So it's really perfect and perfect timing. It just lines up yet again. So
Yes.
I'm appreciating you and your work and your mission. And I find that synchronicity fun.
Yes, it is. All of these co-creative pieces coming together. I love it. Absolutely. So let's take a look at Winifred's chart. Whoops, sorry. Let's see, I'm going to move this over here. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to explain to Winifred what we're looking at here. And it looks like a two-dimensional image to you, Winifred, but for me, it is a multi-dimensional map of your soul. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So this inner circle here is what we call your natal chart. And these are the luminary bodies that I work with that are placed in here. And it's showing where they were in the sky at your specific date, time, and place of birth. So this is what your soul chose to come in with. And I kind of consider this to be your medicine bag. These are the frequencies that you came in with that you're tending to be able to work with and serve and support you while you're completing this mission. This outer circle here, this is the solar return chart. And so what is a solar return chart? We get a new solar return chart every year on our birthday because solar means sun. And on our birthday, the sun has gone all the way around and come back to the exact same place in the sky, that return of where it was located, again, at your specific date, time, and birth. So this solar return chart includes the same luminary bodies that you see here, but they're showing you your evolutionary path for the coming year, from that birthday up to the next birthday. That's your evolutionary path. And so what happens is by the completion of that evolutionary path on your next birthday, you will have been expanded and evolved to be able to align with and embody all of these frequencies.
Neat. All right. What are the frequencies?
All right. So we're going to start first with your natal chart because again, we want to look at what your soul mission is. And quite frankly, from my perspective, the soul is an extension of what I call all that is, the unified source field, what a lot of people refer to as God. And so that extension of source that is our soul is our divine eternal self. So this soul mission is really your divine plan, and how that eternal, immortal, omnipotent, omniscient energy is desiring to move through you and create through you in terms of the whole divine plan. And so what we see here, which is fascinating, and I'm going to put on my glasses so that I can get a little bit better view here, is that Pluto, remember I said it represents your soul, right here in the glyph of Virgo. That's how we know it's your soul tribe, at 29 degrees of Virgo. So you need to understand that 29 degrees of any astrological sign is a mastery point, and it's in your first house. So what does this mean in terms of your soul mission? What it means is the first house is all about who you know yourself to be. And you know yourself to be that embodiment of love. And you know that that divine love that moves through you and creates through you is what alchemizes you and what alchemizes everything that you come into contact with. Now,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel that. There is always the goal and the objective ever since I was a kid to not only optimize, and I didn't even know what I was trying to optimize for, except for I knew that this would be a completion. Like the goal is to complete. The goal is to become whole, or eventually, as I learned, to merge, right? So that endeavor is not one for the faint of heart.
right.
It's it's taking on everything, and your best, your worst, your everything, and moving through it and doing it with grace as best you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can tell you already that because Pisces is the ruler of your seventh house of relationships, this is going to add to that impetus of wanting to merge into the wholeness of all that is, not only for yourself and your relationship to all that is, but even in your relationships with people. You're going to find that urge to merge with them as well, which, of course, supports your ability to do the kind of medical intuitive work that you do.
Yes, well, I rather live inside of other people on an hour-to-hour basis during the day, and that I do literally merge into their system, if you will, to take a look at it. But to merge heart and soul, I really feel like the Truth Tour has given me a shot in the arm again, because I was starting to doubt humanity a little bit, and this gave me a great influx of proper timing energy that had me remember we're on the right page. Everyone's in the right place. It's good.
You know, Winifred, I'm so happy you said that, because I was in the same place, really starting to doubt where humanity was and is going in terms of our evolution, really starting to doubt whether there's anybody out there that's ready for what I do. And was reticent to commit to the Truth Tour because I didn't think it would be my audience. But that day in Clearwater, this past Friday, I am still riding on the high that I was infused with from the frequencies of the 250 some people, including the speakers, that all showed up that day. It restored and renewed my faith, not only in humanity, but also in the American people.
I agree, Sophia. This is like one of the few things. I was walking down the street today and I thought, wow, I feel so much better than I did a week ago. And a week ago was pretty good. This was just like, this has brought me to a new level, and these people have really contributed to that level.
Absolutely.
It is their excitement, their willingness to learn, their joy, the unity of love in that room. It
Yes.
doesn't matter that everybody was on the same page or not. The
Right.
unity is what gave me hope. And yeah, I was for a minute really doubting, like, Wow, are we going to get there? Because I keep seeing suddenly an influx of people that are very, very ill and they're very, very young. And I'm thinking, how am I going to handle this wave? And I don't know. Somehow I just know it'll get handled and I feel everything's in its right place.
Yes. Yes. Well, let me explain what this purple triangle that you're seeing that is associated with your soul is all about. And it's actually the depiction of a specific astrological aspect that we call a yod. And in mundane astrology, they call the yod the finger of the god. I personally call it the finger of the goddess. And the effect of this yod is phenomenal, because what's happening, and we'll talk about this placement here, these energies that are along the what they call the base of the yod are blending and merging with each other, and then they are thrusting themselves up here to what's called the apex. And this apex is where that finger of the goddess is pointing to. And so the effect of the yod is this is a destined manifestation. It will happen, come hell or high water. It will not fail.
And I love that. That's good news to me, actually. But in a way, I know that because I made a soul contract to do that, and I've been held to the fire one way or another, and it's been rough. I mean, it's not been an easy ride. People think that, just because you work in spirit land and you've got all these heavenly helpers, that it's a smooth ride. No, in fact, it's the opposite. It's probably one of the hardest rides that you'll ever take. And perhaps that's why I can have great empathy and compassion for our military and the soldiers, because I feel the same way some days. I literally feel like, you know, I I can't take one more. But in fact, that's what we do. And we rise above and we move on. And I am also going through my own burning of things so that I can do what you're talking about. And I'm
Right,
and I'm consciously aware of that.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So look at what's here at the apex. It's that north node that I mentioned on the previous slide, the north node that tells us how your soul intended to complete its mission. And so the soul intended that it was going to complete its mission, come hell or high water. It was going to do that. And notice that the north node for you is in the sign of Aquarius, and it's also in the sixth house. So let me just go back quickly and say this sixth house is ruled by those Virgo energies, those being in sacred service energies. And it also has to do with your day to day life. Every step you take, every breath you breathe, you are like a laser focused on doing this mission and getting it done. And
That's true. That's
yes,
actually, and people get a little freaked out around me, but it's not that I'm not lighthearted, but it's true. Everything I do has meaning, and everything I do is, I try to be in concert with spirit. So in that way, it would be inspired and deliberate, not random,
right,
not a waste of time.
right. And so let's look at these Aquarian energies because they're very integral to how you're intending to get this done. So when we look at the Aquarian energies, this is where working with the quantum comes in. The Aquarian energies deal with the quantum, they deal with the multidimensional self, they deal with the collective consciousness of humanity. They deal with you being able to work on the world stage on behalf of humanity and to serve humanity and to do that in a revolutionary way.
Well, I think I'm doing that. And I think that it's probably not even come to its full kick into gear, to be honest with you. But I can tell you that I feel most at home that way,
Yes,
actually.
yes. Not surprised, not surprised at all. So let's go back to the soul mission here, Pluto, and how you're intending to complete the soul mission here with North Node. And of course, this yod is all a part of it. This finger of the goddess, come hell or high water, it's getting done. And let's look over here where you're going to see Lucifer. For me, Lucifer represents separation consciousness. And this alchemy here that's going back and forth, what is alchemy? Alchemy is the process of taking lower frequencies and transforming and transmuting them into higher frequencies, bringing separation consciousness into unity consciousness. And so you'll notice that Lucifer energy is retrograde, pulling your attention into the inner self. And it's in the sign of Cancer. Cancer as a water sign, you're dealing with the emotional realm. With Cancer specifically, you're dealing with the things that make people feel vulnerable, that trying to create a space where they can feel safe and be vulnerable, to feel protected and nurtured. And so with this placement here, what your soul is doing and a part of who it is, what it's desiring to do, how it's desiring to do, is that everything that happens with your own emotional body that triggers any kind of resonant frequency that might be in separation consciousness, you are instantaneously alchemizing it. And as you're doing that through yourself, you are doing it up here for the collective consciousness of humanity. And so as you work with individuals, you are also assisting them in that individual level. And so together you become co-creators who then alchemize even greater and expand even greater the collective consciousness of humanity.
That is so true, actually. That's been the discipline that I've spent so many years learning, is to go within and to go within on every level, but at the same time to basically keep your focus on the greater service.
Yes.
And the greater service, even if I wanted to escape from, I could not, but I don't want to escape from it. The only thing I pray for and ask for is less resistance with people so we can get there easier, because it's a beautiful thing once you do. But I understand the journey and it's not an easy one.
Right. Absolutely. And so, when you talk about the service and not being able to get out of that, absolutely, because notice that these Luciferian energies are in the 11th house. This 11th house is ruled by these Aquarian energies. So I call this a kind of a scaffolding effect where the North Node is in these Aquarian energies, service to humanity, and the Luciferian energies are here in the 11th house, ruled by being in service to humanity. And now your soul is in a sign that is in sacred service to the sacred feminine. Service, 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 imbuing all of the frequencies of this entire yod. You cannot get out of being in service to anyone.
I feel that way. It's true. So you learn to enjoy each moment, and that's part of the learning curve is, and I think I'm doing that at this point. You're enjoying the moment, and you yourself are not resisting the moment.
Exactly. And you have that ability, Winifred, because one, Cancer as a water energy. Two, Pisces ruling your 7th house of relationships. Again, water flows.
You know what? My Hopi sign is water.
There you go.
My Hopi element that I chose is water. They gave me earth, but perhaps because I'm a fire sign, right? So my existence preferably is in water.
I can understand that. And of course, your moon, who is the ruler of these Cancerian energies, is in that fire sign. The sun is there, the moon is there. So yeah, I can understand how you may need that quenching comfort of water.
Truly. I mean, really physically, I do. And without it, it starts to get, and this is interesting because in my work, we can look at that biologically. So for example, as a fire sign, right? I'm fiery, even though one would say she's calm, but I have fire and I have a lot of fire and I have a determination to get to that answer for someone and to get it solved. But if I overfire or I'm in, say, too hot of a climate all the time, I am becoming dry on the inside as well. And this goes back to how I look at people for body system health and herbology and so on. So literally, you become weaker because you're burning out
Right.
and the fire's too hot. You need the water. You
That's
must have
right.
the balance so the body system stays even.
Yes. Yes. And for you, Winifred, this is especially important. I wasn't intending to go here, but this is where it's going. And so we're going to look at it.
Okay.
Look at all of this. Mercury, Neptune at almost 1 degree of Sagittarius, the sun, Yeshua, your embodiment of the Christ consciousness, the moon as the divine mother aspect, Isis as the cosmic Sophia, Osiris as the cosmic Christ, Magdalene as the embodiment of Sophia, Asmodeus and Mercury, the cosmic messenger. All of these luminary bodies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right here in Sagittarius.
Wow.
We call that a stellium. Anytime you have 3 or more luminary bodies together in the same place in the sky, it's a stellium. And now some, regular astrologers may want to argue this point with me, but I look at the connection between them and how the energies flow. So most astrologers are going to look at a window of 5 degrees out to 10 degrees in terms of how far apart the energies are. So if we start here with Neptune at about 1 and we go out about 10, we've come all the way to Isis here. But then look at Isis. She's within 6 degrees of Osiris. And Osiris is, 4 degrees from the Magdalene. And they're 2 degrees from Asmodeus and a degree from Mercury. And so while all of the 9 together are outside of that classical 10-degree orb, because they are all so closely connected to each other within that 23 degrees, I call it, I don't know what you call the name of that thing is, where, you see the balls hanging down and you take one
Oh,
ball
yes.
and it comes
Yes, I
and
know
it
what you
leaves
mean.
all those and then it comes. This is the effect. These energies, you ping one and it pings them all. And so this is why I would say all of this is a part of that stellium. And so all of this is fueling you. The sun is what fuels you. All of these energies, the Sophia consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the inner Sophia, the inner Christ, your pipeline to source through Neptune, the cosmic messenger, all of this is fueling you. And this is why you can feel like the temperature within you gets turned up too high because you've got all this star power, right?
People
The
don't
magnet.
understand.
Yeah,
I
it's
tell
like,
them, like you saw at the show, once I get hot, it's hard. And I tell people, ever since I was a kid, I don't have a cool off meter. That's why water is so important. I can't cool down. I
right,
can't physically cool down
right.
easily. And yes, I feel that happen. Plus, I'm feeling empathically the whole room, then the block, then the city, then the whatever. It's just
Mhm.
like wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yes,
That makes a lot of sense. And
yes.
thank you for explaining that.
Yes, and with all that star power, it can feel like that magnifying glass, right? That on the leaf, and it starts to burn the leaf.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
definitely
focus.
feel that way. And I think that's part of being, some people would call me an extrovert based on the things that you see on a resume page, if you will. But the truth is I'm one of those extreme introverts until you engage me. And then I'll come out of my shell, but I'm real quiet.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now that we've talked about this yod in terms of what your soul incarnated in with this mission and how it was desiring to complete this mission, let's focus up here on your solar return chart to see what's going on with your soul's evolution and along this path. I call it also not only the evolutionary path, but the ascension path and the North Node in terms of how you're doing that. And then at the end, we're going to look at these two that I've marked in green, and that's a little extra something special too. So I've said this time and time and time again, everybody on the planet has got their solar Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. Pluto's been moving through Capricorn since 2008. We're having that Pluto return for the United States this year. Next year, Pluto will go into Aquarius for a little bit, but then come back out. In 2024, it'll go back into Aquarius for most of the year, but then come back into Capricorn. So we're going to be feeling the effects of this Pluto and Capricorn energies up until at least 2025 and even 2026 as Pluto gets a little bit further into Aquarius and pulls away from these Capricorn energies. So what is this Pluto and Capricorn doing for everybody? And what is it doing for you? First of all, Capricorn is all about sovereignty.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes. And Pluto in Capricorn is about reclaiming your power, taking back your sovereignty.
Well, we're in that, aren't we?
We are. And look at the placement of your solar Pluto, almost at 25 degrees. So what you should know, Winifred, is in a sign, there's 30 degrees, but they're counted from 0 to 29. So this Pluto is getting, as I said, because it's getting closer and closer into going into those Aquarian energies, into these later degrees of Capricorn. So we're getting towards that mastery point. So what does that mean for us? Way showers. We are the way showers. That's what these Capricorn energies are, the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the tribe that are the way showers. And with your Hopi work, I'm sure you're very deeply connected to that wisdom, aren't you?
I am connected to that wisdom, but again, I'll say, like I said in my talk, that the wisdom is not me, but it is the witnessing of the wisdom and letting go into that witnessing, which is happening on our behalf.
Yes, yes. And that's the Sophia consciousness, divine wisdom, who is coming through all of us, manifesting through all of us. Absolutely. Now let's look at where your solar Pluto is located. Isn't it interesting that it's in your solar first house? So again, knowing yourself as this way shower and how being a way shower in terms of reclaiming our sovereignty, standing in our sovereignty, further alchemizes you, further expands who you are out to that leading edge intelligence of who you are and who you know yourself to be.
Neat. Well, that's really fun. It's a neat discovery because you could tell me this kind of thing, and I'm just not very good at the whole astrology thing, to be honest. But I think it's fascinating, and I think it's amazing that it's so detailed into how it matches up with who we be.
Yes, absolutely. Because as I said, it's a multidimensional soul map. And so, I am just reading frequencies the same way you read frequencies, but I use a different language. This is my soul's language. And so your soul talks to my soul, and my soul tells me what you're ready to receive.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is very cool. Keep going.
Okay. So let's look again at where this placement of your solar Pluto is in Capricorn at 25 degrees. It's forming what we call a trine, 120-degree aspect to your to your natal Pluto. So what's happening with this trine effect is a very harmonious flow of energies. So everything that you're doing this year as you're evolving yourself is flowing back into who you are as that soul. And as it flows into here, it continues to activate this entire yard.
It's happening. It's really happening. I mean, I kind of took a break through COVID and went through all kinds of hell. And now I'm sort of picking myself back up from that. And I've been working very hard with people. And now the other things of coming out into the world are happening at exponential speed.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, and now that Pluto has stationed direct on October 8th, we're going to start to see that even pick up, even though Pluto's a very slow moving planet, now that it's moving direct again, we're going to see more and more coming to the surface, coming into the light.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of us are ready. So let's look at how your soul is doing this work in terms of your evolution over this year. And again, we look at the North Node. We see it's in your solar 5th house, and it's in the sign of Gemini. So let's talk about the 5th house first. This 5th house is going to be really important for you because the 5th house is ruled by the sun. And it's a creative house. Everything that you birth is birthed through these 5th house energies. And so what you are birthing here in these 5th house energies is being birthed on the mental plane. Gemini has to do with the mental plane. It's being birthed into how you communicate with people. And so you may have noticed over the course of this year that the way that you're communicating has become very different than how you were communicating with people last year. And the reason why it would be different is because of the goddess Sedna here. And she's retrograde. So again, pulling that awareness inwards in the sign of Taurus, which is all about embodiment. And what Sedna does is she takes any of our wounds and she transmutes them into new tools that we can use in a brand new environment. And the way that I've been talking about this recently is think about all of the tools that we had available to us that we were even embodying here in this 3 density earth. We're making this shift into these higher densities, into the 4th, 5th, and beyond densities. And so the tools that work here in the 3rd density are not going to be able to work for us effectively in these higher densities. And this is the work that Sedna is doing within you. She's transforming and transmuting your personal inner toolbox to be able to communicate at these higher densities so that the minds of the people that you're working with here can receive that communication.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's really, it is happening. And I have gone through a big transformational shift, and quietly but consciously.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
right. And it's been profound. It's almost like I stepped outside of my body, looked back at everything that's going on and said, okay, let's reevaluate this like a corporate meeting.
Right.
You know, like, okay, wait a minute, we're going to change this now, and we're going to do that, and this needs to. And it's really oftentimes in my work, it is true. It's about how the people are receiving and how their rate of growth or their ability to grow. And sometimes you have to change with, you change what you're doing so that they can receive differently or better.
Exactly.
And that's something that I'm consciously recognizing right now too.
Yes. Yes. So let me show you one more really groovy thing about this. Notice that this Sedna placement in Taurus, an earth sign, is making a trine down here to your Pluto in Capricorn, earth sign. So this is how your soul is intending for you as the way shower that is standing in your sovereignty and helping others, knowing yourself as a sovereign being and communicating to others on how they themselves can take back their power and be sovereign beings. This is how it's happening through you.
That's really cool. That's neat to see. And that is happening. It's happening when I talk about the quantum, but it's much bigger than that. And even the quantum grammar, and we're talking about sovereignty, but that's a tool that I offer to people as a way of safeguarding. But in reality, my world is more built around the quantum field and how people can resonate and don't have to go through such hardship with their karmas and things, and can accelerate that shifting in their consciousness.
Yes, yes. Because let me tell you, Gemini, ruled by Mercury, the cosmic messenger, has to do with the lower mind. Aquarius has to do with the higher mind. So you are working back and forth between these planes, and you do it with
I am.
with much adeptness.
I do it
Right?
at lightning speed with people,
Yes,
truly.
yes,
And it is real, and they can't believe it at first. And then they scratch their head when we're done, like, what happened?
right, right, absolutely. Now, what I would tell you that, again, some other astrologers may argue this point with me, but this solar Sedna and this solar Pluto and your natal Pluto create what is called a grand Earth trine. So the effect of that for you this year in terms of how you've been able to walk this evolutionary path is that you've had this very stable foundation on which to stand upon as you take each step forward.
Yes. Well, I'll say this. Though we know everything happens in grace, it feels very much like I can stand up and say, I created that um, with intention. Like I worked at that. It's
Yes,
not just, it fell in my lap and it's all easy. It is not. If I told my whole true story of what I've been through, people would be like, wow,
right,
it's taken great courage to stand in the middle of the unknown and stand in the middle of what seems just tragic in some ways. And so, yeah, it's taken, but taking that back and saying, okay, I'm walking my own talk,
yes,
really. I'm walking it through for people and being in that example at the same time. It's just they don't always understand the juggling act or the degree of what you hold in energy.
right, right. And I love that, walking your talk, because that's a perfect phrase to describe the manifestation of these Pluto in Capricorn and North Node in Gemini energies. Walking the talk. Beautiful expression of that manifestation.
Yeah, flaws and all, I'd say, because as we know, the imperfection is the perfection, right? But
Yes,
you you are, I like to look at it like this. If we really had compassion toward self and toward others every single day, we would be more compassionate toward others on account of being patient with self. And if we didn't feel we did so well yesterday, we try on again and see how we can do better today.
exactly. Exactly. I agree with you completely. So let's shift and look at what's over here in green. And this is just a little extra tidbit that I want to share with you that I normally wouldn't go into in an episode. And the reason I'm sharing it with you is because these luminary bodies are influencing your apex of the yod and this point of the base of the yod. And so this is highly significant for you in terms of your evolutionary expansion. And of course, all of these luminary bodies serve you in terms of being able to complete that soul mission. But these two in particular, I wanted to speak to because of their influence on this phenomenal finger of the goddess here. So first we see here Yeshua. And the way that I work with Yeshua is Yeshua as the embodiment of the Christ consciousness, your inner Yeshua, which is your inner Christ consciousness. And notice that it's in the sign of Leo. Leo is the compassionate heart space. That's the seat of our inner Sophia Christ consciousness. And for you, it's in your solar seventh house. And so, what's happening through this yod is that your inner Christ consciousness is flowing through your heart space, and it's influencing all of this energy here that is bringing anything that on the emotional realm and the emotional body that's in separation consciousness, and it's healing it. It's healing it and bringing it into wholeness.
That's beautiful. That's really powerful. And it feels like that. I mean, that is the basis of the work every single session. That is the point. We're coming in that, and we are absolutely interfacing through the open heart.
Yes, yes. And then we look over here.
In fact, I have my open heart pin on. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, no, I can't see it.
It's
Wow.
here somewhere.
That's wonderful. Here we have Jupiter. And Jupiter magnifies everything that it comes into contact with. And so it's like lighting a flame and have it become the bonfire. And Jupiter, by the way, is the ruler of these Sagittarius energies. And Jupiter has to do with the highest spiritual truth. And so all of that is flowing through Aquarius here to the apex of your yod where your north node is. So this north node influence for you this year has been, especially in terms of the manifestation of this yod through you, how am I serving and teaching, because Jupiter has to do with the the cosmic guru. How am I teaching people to be in alignment with the highest spiritual truth?
Amen to that. That is true. It's amazing. It's really phenomenal. It's lined up like this, but it's true.
Yes, absolutely. So before we move on to the next slide, Winifred, I mean, I've given you a lot to take in, a lot to integrate. What's coming up within you around all of this in terms of, where it is that your attention and awareness is being brought to?
Affirmation, not to doubt and not to let go. I mean, it's affirmation to, it would be like an Olympic athlete at the last quarter mile, right? And they're tired at that point. And I'm tired at this point. And there's no doubt I can do the work, but I think in the bigger picture, it would be nice to have a break for a minute, but that's maybe not going to happen. So you have to pace it. And I look at it like that. It's an athletic event, if you will. And so this just gave me another breath of fresh air to affirm the position and work that much more. And I don't mean work harder in terms of job work. I mean dedicate,
Right,
and align.
right.
And that can be relaxing and letting go in alignment, but to have faith in that focus and continue on that path because it's correct. It's in right alignment.
Yes.
So thank you. This is a blessing, actually, that you're sharing this with me.
My honor. If anything, I hope that you feel like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
I am. And for all the naysayers of full colon Russell life and J colon Gould, I just have to say this. That's not been an easy ride either, but it's about to culminate next weekend. And I look back on the last couple of years of what I've been through because I did all that and those interviews and things. And now it's like it all mattered.
Yes.
And it's mattering that much more for me. So that just really makes me feel good.
And it does matter. And it's absolutely that series of conversations that you had was absolutely a manifestation of how you were desiring to complete your soul mission, because all of that conversation has to do with subject matters that are related to these Aquarian energies, that have to do with evolving humanity, being in service to humanity in terms of liberating humanity.
That's right. And I think I felt that ever since I was a kid. And maybe if we talked to my classmates or something, they would have memories of me being kind of intense in that way, but this was probably what was driving me.
Yes. Well, yes, this can be a very intense energy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Wow. Okay. Any final words about this piece before we move on?
I think that what we have in our youth tells a lot of the story of what we become. And, as I look back on this whole chart from what you're sharing with me, and I think about my life, I came in knowing I didn't know where I was going. That eventually defined itself and became very clear, and that probably lines up on this chart somewhere too. But we, if you look back on your life, you tend to see a little bit of the roadmap.
Yes,
And
you.
I was a ridiculous athlete at a young age and pursued all of that with great vigor, and I accomplished a lot in that way because I was fire and I was very driven in that sense. But I think it was an outlet to these energies that you're talking about right here before I could put them into spiritual practice or service to people.
Yes. Yes.
So it
I
makes
love that.
sense to me. It's kind of
Yes.
lining up.
Yes. You can see where your life has led you to this place, where you always intended to be, where you
Yeah.
intended to go.
And the thing that carries over, which I think is really important to mention, is that in athleticism, for me anyway, I was part of teams, but I always had to do a personal best. So the personal best for the team, as I've grown up now, is the theme, right? So the
Yes.
personal best that you bring to the team, and the team can be your client, it can be your group, your local group, your dedication toward humanity, whatever, but your personal best matters, which is what you discussed in this triangle here of things that you're working toward and the consciousness you have and so on. That personal best matters toward the team. We're going to get it right.
Right.
you know
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that perspective. I really appreciate it. So let's go to this next slide here. I just want to remind you about the previous episodes that we've done this season. Lewis Herms, the founder of the Truth Tour and the Truth-a-thon, Governor Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, Liana Georgita, the founder of the Music Academy International that provides funds for piano students to go to Europe and study with teachers in Europe. And of course, the magnificent Winifred Adams.
How did I get in with these people? How did I get on this list with Lewis Herms and Ron DeSantis? I can't believe it.
Yes. Really, really incredible, isn't it?
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny. And that's an honor, really. So thank you.
Good company all the way around here, right? So my final slide here is, if you would like to request somebody that I do a spotlight on, an influencer that you would like me to do a spotlight on, you can send that to me through my contact page. And if you do make a request of somebody that you'd like me to do a spotlight on, you can assist me if you know their full date of birth, their time of birth, and their location. And these are the details I'll require. You can also assist me by sharing these episodes with your friends, family, and social networks. And then lastly, you can find me on Rumble, Telegram, and all of these episodes are on my YouTube channel, The Rose Rule Mystery School. I have 9 different playlists on this channel, and the playlist Spotlight on Influencers is where you'll find this season's episodes and last season's episodes. Winifred, do you have any final remarks that you'd like to share?
I just think that this is actually a blessing, and the way you described it makes so much sense to me. I could follow along pretty easily, and I appreciate that because I'm not an astrology person. I get it, but I don't know it. So I appreciate this so much, and I think it's extraordinary because now I can go back and reflect on this
Yes.
and see. I do have one question, I guess.
Sure.
Where is it headed for the next year? Like, what's that whole summation going to?
Right. And so, if you'll recall, I said that when you had your birthday last year, that this path lays out what you're intending to align with and embody by the end of this year. And of course, we know that you're getting ready very soon to have another birthday, which will create a whole new evolutionary path for you to step onto. So you will have embodied everything that we have discussed here and aligned with everything that we've discussed here by the time you step onto that new path coming up soon.
Neat. All right. Well,
Yes.
I'm, like I said, I'm ready, and I just love this. This is so cool. So I will keep in mind other people that you could do this with. That is
Oh,
really fun.
that
And
would
thank
be great.
you.
Great. Yes. Any influencers that you'd like to send my way, I would greatly appreciate. So
Sophia Mona Lisa, how fun. So nice to meet you, and thank you for your time in doing this.
it's my honor. And Winifred, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on the show. This has, like I said, been a divine appointment, definitely a part of the divine plan.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So until the next time, everybody, thank you and keep watching. Bye bye.